The rain had been falling for 3 days straight on the grimy streets of Skid Row, Los Angeles. A bone-chilling November rain that felt like needles piercing your skin. Under the rusted awning of an abandoned storefront, the air hung thick with the stench of wet garbage, diesel fumes, and something rotten that seemed to cling to everything. The flickering streetlights above cast jaundiced circles of light, reflecting off the puddles like shattered glass. The distant hum of traffic blended with the relentless drumming of rain on corrugated metal roofs, creating a rhythm that was almost hypnotic, almost numbing. It was one of those nights that shrinks you down to nothing. One of those nights that slams home how alone you can be, even in a city of millions. A night when anything could happen, and something was about to. Marcus James Walker, 17 years old, though his eyes held the weight of decades. He sat huddled against the cold, graffitied wall, his threadbare grey hoodie soaked through, a dull ache gnawing at his empty stomach, an ache so constant it had become a part of him. His mother, gone to an overdose when he was 13. His father, vanished long before that, group homes, a revolving door of neglect and indifference, until he ran. 2 years on the streets had carved a roadmap of hard lessons onto his soul, lessons no kid should ever have to learn. But even after everything, Marcus clung to something that most in his situation lost, a stubborn belief that people, even the most broken ones, were still worth saving. That kindness, even the smallest act, still mattered. His mother, in her few fleeting moments of clarity, had instilled that in him. Tonight, that belief was about to be tested in the fires. Before we go any further, if you believe in second chances, in paying it forward, and in standing up for those who have nothing, hit that like button, drop a comment, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this remind us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear tattered hoodies and sleep under bridges. The roar of the hog came first, a deep, guttural rumble that sliced through the rain like a bolt of lightning. Marcus glanced up just in time to see the Harley barreling around the corner, way too fast. The rider was a mountain of a man, clad in a black leather cut, adorned with patches that even Marcus recognized instantly. Hell's Angels. The iconic red and white Death Head logo was undeniable, but something was off. The bike was weaving erratically. The rider was slumped over, almost unconscious. Then the hog hit a patch of oil slick, invisible under the sheet of rain. The front wheel locked, and everything unfolded in slow, agonizing motion. The Harley slammed down hard, skidding across the rain-slicked asphalt in a shower of sparks. The rider was thrown, his body cartwheeling like a discarded doll toward the concrete K-rail that lined the street. Marcus didn't think, he just reacted. He bolted into the downpour, his worn sneakers slapping against the wet pavement. The rider had come to a stop just feet from the barrier, face down. Motionless, blood was mingling with the rain, spreading in a crimson pool. Marcus dropped to his knees beside the massive biker. Up close, the man was a behemoth. Arms like tree trunks, tattoos snaking up his neck, a thick, blood-matted beard. His cut identified him as the Enforcer. His name patch read Grizzly. But Marcus didn't see a Hell's Angel. He saw a man in desperate need of help. He checked for breathing, found a faint pulse. Then he saw it. A jagged piece of metal from the bike had impaled Grizzly's leg. He was bleeding profusely. Marcus ripped off his hoodie, his only protection against the biting cold, and pressed it against the wound with all his might. Grizzly's eyes fluttered open. Confusion clouded his gaze, followed by searing pain, then dawning awareness. He stared at the skinny kid kneeling in the rain. shirtless now, pressing a blood-soaked hoodie against his leg. "Kid," Grizzly rasped, his voice like grinding gravel. "What the hell are you doing?" "Saving your life," Marcus said simply. "Don't move! The ambulance is on its way." Marcus had already flagged down a passing car, had used their cell phone to call 911, had stayed there in the freezing rain, staunching the bleeding, talking to Grizzly to keep him conscious. When the paramedics arrived, they said the makeshift tourniquet had saved Grizzly's life. Another 5 minutes, and he would have bled out. As they loaded Grizzly into the ambulance, he seized Marcus's wrist. His grip was weak, but his eyes burned with intensity. "What's your name?" "Kid." "Marcus. Marcus Walker." Grizzly nodded once, slowly, deliberately. "Where do you live, Marcus Walker?" Marcus averted his gaze. The silence spoke volumes. Grizzly's eyes softened. Something shifted within them. Understanding, recognition, maybe even respect. "We'll find you," he said. "Our family doesn't forget." 3 days later, Marcus was asleep under his usual overpass when a strange sound jolted him awake. A rumble, deep, resonant, growing like thunder that refused to fade. He scrambled out of his sleeping bag and froze. Motorcycles, dozens of them, maybe 100, maybe more. Big hogs lined the street, engines idling, the chrome gleaming in the morning sun, leather vests everywhere. The red and white Hells Angels patches blazed like warning flags, and at the front, sitting in a wheelchair being pushed by another biker, was Grizzly. Marcus didn't know whether to run or stand his ground. His heart pounded against his ribs like a trapped bird. He had heard stories about the Hells Angels. Everyone had, but Grizzly was smiling, actually smiling. "Marcus Walker," Grizzly called out, his voice stronger now. "Get your ass over here." Marcus walked forward on shaky legs. 150 pairs of eyes bore into him. 150 bikers who could crush him without a second thought. Grizzly reached out and grasped his hand. "Kid," he said, "you saved my life. Gave up your only jacket in the freezing rain. Stayed with me when you could have walked away. Do you have any idea how rare that is?" Marcus shook his head. He couldn't trust his voice. "Our family doesn't forget," Grizzly continued. "And our family protects its own." He gestured behind him. The bikers began to move, not toward Marcus, toward the underpass, toward his makeshift camp. A woman with silver streaks in her hair and a weathered leather jacket approached carrying bags. Inside were warm clothes, a heavy winter jacket, sturdy boots, gloves, thermal underwear, everything a teenager living on the streets needed to survive. 2 hulking bikers carried boxes of food, canned goods, bread, peanut butter, enough to last for months. Another biker, older, with kind eyes that belied his tough exterior, handed Marcus an envelope. Inside were documents, an apartment rental agreement, already signed, already paid. First 6 months covered, but Grizzly wasn't finished. "We made some calls," he said. "Found a family, good people, bikers themselves. They want to take you in, give you a real home, finish school, have a future." Marcus felt tears welling up in his eyes. He tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. Grizzly pulled him closer. "You gave everything you had to save a stranger," he rumbled. "Now, let us give something back. Your family now, Marcus Walker, and family takes care of family." A woman stepped forward. She had the warmest, kindest eyes Marcus had ever seen. Her name tag read, Mama Rose. "I lost my son 3 years ago," she said softly, her voice trembling just a little. "I have a room with his things still there, untouched. Would you let me give it to someone who deserves it? Marcus broke. 17 years of walls crashed down. He sobbed, like the child he still was, and all that pain flooding out. 150 Hell's Angels stood in silence, a respectful silence. Some wiped their eyes, even the toughest among them, men who'd seen it all. Because courage, like Marcus showed, deserved to be honored, and kindness, like his, deserved to be returned tenfold. Marcus Walker is 19 now. He graduated high school last year, against all odds. He's studying to become a paramedic, wanting to give back, to pay it forward. And every Sunday, he rides with the Hell's Angels Portland chapter, his adopted family, his brothers. Grizzly says Marcus saved more than his life that night. He saved his faith in humanity. He restored his belief that goodness still exists. And before we wrap things up, we have one special request for you. Comment below with the words, "Courage has no address." Let's flood the comments to show that you stand with Marcus and everything he represents, because sometimes the most powerful person in the room isn't the one with the loudest voice or the biggest muscles. It's the one who has nothing, but still chooses to give everything they have. What would you do if you saw someone in trouble? Would you stop? Would you help? Would you give your last piece of clothing to save a stranger from the storm, like this video? If it moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, someone who needs a little hope, and subscribe so you never miss another uplifting tale of human kindness, because kindness doesn't ask where you live, what neighborhood you're from, and courage doesn't care if you're rich or poor, black or white. It only asks if you are willing to open your heart.